Brian, what sort of team news are we looking at for Friday?
Danny Maguire is available this week, and Joe Moon suffering from concussion, so he'd been ruled out. I think that's it. I think that's probably the significant change.
How would you rate Danny's chances of actually playing?
Yeah, he'll play. He's not. Precaution last week. Smart thing to do, to leave him out for last week, to ensure that he plays the next few games. So he'll play.
How significant is it to have him back?
For sure, he's an important player, isn't he? And not just a lot of, not just on a football level or a skill level, which he's clearly got a lot of, but he's our captain, so we welcome him back.
How much will you miss Joel Moon?
Well, I think after one game, there's no panic. There's no Jimmy Kainos is a very able replacement. So Moon is disappointed that he's not playing, and he'll be available next week, I'm sure.
What are you expecting from Leigh?
At their place, first game, big game from them. The habit of waiting while you open stands and open bridges and christening babies and first home games, the habit of waiting while Leeds Rhinos comes in town, it's consistent, goes on, doesn't it? So I don't know whether it's luck or whether Leigh have manufactured that they play the first two games away, and this is their first home game, so the first game away. Sorry, so it'll be a big thing for them, and we need to get ready to face an incredibly intense and aggressive team, which they're noted for.
There will be that emotion on their part, but you're used to sort of facing those sort of games, aren't you? Yeah,
used to. It still hurts, Jimmy. Boxers don't ever get one punched in the nose, so yeah, we still have to deal with it. Yeah, of course. The intensity of when teams play the Rhinos is there every week, but we gotta get ready for that. We each week. That's what catches a lot of people out, saying, "Oh, we're at Leeds Rhinos. We'll get used to that. We'll be all right with it." No, you've got to get used to that every single week. You've got to note it. You've got to show evidence of it, and then prepare and get ready for it every 7 days.
You played them. It was the last game, wasn't it, last year? Does that have any significance at all in sort of maybe homework wise?
Probably for both teams, yeah. But I wouldn't imagine that their coaching staff would spend too much time going over that game as we haven't either. But we've looked at it. There's of course that's the last game we played, so there'll be one or two things that each team probably picked up on, but I don't think they'll be basing their week up on anything they saw from the last game.
Just on a broader point, is it nice to have a new face in Super League? In Leigh?
Help me. What were, sorry?
Is it nice to see a new face?
All right, sorry, yeah. Yeah, it is. Everybody wants the game to progress, including me. Everybody wants the game to be bigger, including me. We'll see we'll see. Leigh are a very proud and historic team within rugby league, and their story was great last year for what can be achieved, and their recruitment strategy, while very aggressive, it worked for them. Obviously some great coaching as well, and the players performing well. So for them to get through the mid-eights and not be involved in that £1 million game is it's a big thing now. At the time I thought, wow, that's pretty big from them, and for them now to stay in Super League is I suppose their next task. I'm sure I reckon they'll have their sights higher than that, but yeah, it's good. It's we want the game to progress and get bigger, don't we?
Just on second look of last week's game, were you equally encouraged?
For a lot of parts of it, yeah, for sure. I mean, that was a tough game. That we do a load of different stats and look at different angles of the games, and most games that we played in last year for various reasons had I don't know 230, 240 play the balls, and that game we played last week had about 310, I think. So it just gives you a steer of how much the ball was in play and how intense the game was, and we stuck to the task. Now tactically we needed to be better. Our kicking game let us down. I thought Saints' kicking game was great. I thought Saints' defence was outstanding. And sometimes those tight games come down to one or two moments, and we would have liked it to come down to the exceptional play from Jamie Jones to Callum Watkins, who went down the wing and fed the ball back on the inside to Liam Sutcliffe, and then I'd have been proudly sat here saying, do you know what, that's what those games are about, staying with it, being in that bit of a your turn, our turn type of game where nobody's given a quarter, nobody's asking for a quarter, and it came down to a brilliant passage of play. The game was balanced on that, and they came up with the goods, and you've got to say from Makinson that was a brilliant tackle. Yes, we'll look at some stuff that we need to be better at. Clearly, the end of sets, we need to be better than that. But I didn't think it was awful in that regard either, and I thought overall we were pretty good.
He said some very nice things about Ash Golding after the game, deservedly so.
Very nice things.
Very nice things. He said he was outstanding. Just having watched it back again, was he even better when you watched it a second time?
Well, anybody who plays fullback, and we've gone through a process there with Ash, and those challenges still remain for him as well. He hasn't got across the finishing line by any stretch. But in coaching of Ash Golding, to replace Zach, and Zach was for us a brilliant, one of the best defending fullbacks, up there with Paul Wellens, I'd say. Paul Wellens, was enormous as a defending fullback, and Zach would come up with some of those try saves. You think, how on earth has he kept that bloke up, or how on earth has he got there? And that was always a challenge to Ash Golding. And athletically, we know he's got the ability to do that. He's got an amazing lung capacity. He can run and run and run and run and run, and he's not just a will-o'-the-wisp. He's actually putting a bit of size on. I think he's weighing heavier than what Zach was when in fact Zach came into the team. So he's quite a muscular fella, Ash Golding, quite a strong bloke. So that was the one that we wanted to bolt onto his game, was some of those try savers. And he came up with three, not just easy ones either. They were top end ones as well. So to do one or two in a game, but to do three, it's a big call from him.
Have you seen a change in him in training this week? Maybe an extra spring in his step after that performance?
Well, I think everybody's just keen to get going again, and start playing again. We want to get. It's at that time of the year you want to be 10 rounds in. You just want to churn over a few games and get some continuity, get a bit of a tempo to how we're playing. So, no, he's been good, and he's the most enthusiastic man walking planet Earth as well. He's the most positive man walking planet Earth anyway, so you won't be able to tell whether it's his birthday or not.
More than Jamie Jones?
Well, Jamie Jones is positive but deep as well.
Yeah.
Jamie Jones he'd make a really good point, Jonesy, extremely positive, but you'd be left and you think, I'll have to think about that for 5 minutes, Jonesy, first before I get into your wavelength.
Good point. It's World Club Week as well. Does it matter who wins this week, do you think?
Yeah, it does, yeah. I'd like both Super League teams to win, yeah.
How likely is that?
Well, I'll probably sidestep that question. It's not look at some evidence. We went through this last year. I'll probably sidestep the question because I got an opinion on that, but my answer would take 15 minutes. And I think being pragmatic about things, I'd answer that in a pragmatic manner. I can tell you, we could win. If you look at some of the things pragmatically. Now listen, for one game they've got a chance. Every team's got a chance of beating every other team for one game. So let's all get behind Warrington and Wigan, and let's hope they do it.
As someone who has won it as a player and as a coach, what does it take to win a World Club Challenge?
Everything to go right on the day. A bit of preparation. Everybody's got to perform. I think both in the playing and the coaching experience, it's one of those where you're always wondering whether you can carry on. I remember against Manly, I thought, well, this is good. I just wonder if we could keep this up. And 50 minutes get there and think, I wonder if we can keep this up because Manly will get back into this. And I think you've got to be good for the full 80 minutes. I know it's a cliche, but it's extremely true. You can't just be really good for 60, 65 minutes. And look, us against North Queensland last year, we had a really good first half, and then we just burnt out. A couple of low blows, or not low blows, but body shots to us just after half time where we dropped some ball and they got straight into the game again. But I think you've got to be on your money for the whole game. And I don't think I don't think you can afford to be 6 or 7 out of 10. You've got to be 8, maybe 9 out of 10 for the whole game, and that's a big asset.
How did it feel as a player? Did you feel that difference, that step up?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. We knew straight away when we played when I was at Bradford, played Newcastle, and I knew instantly the intensity was different. I think Super League's come a long way since then. By the way, that was a few years ago. But yeah, they came over and they give that a go. I mean, one of the proudest things about that moment is that Newcastle admittedly give that a go. They wanted to win that, and they had a prep for that. I think Canterbury came over once and donned Hawaiian shirts and wore big moustaches, so a bit disrespectful. You just wonder where their prep was at for the game. But yeah, I think the teams that are coming over and making the commitment to come over here genuinely want to win the games. I think Wayne Bennett's brought his Brisbane team. They want to win the game, and certainly Cronulla want to get that World Club title.
Should Wigan and/or Warrington win or come close, what sort of a lift would it give the Super League, you think?
Just emotionally, for sure. What it will do to the game, I'm not sure. I think how it gets marketed and the decisions that are made over the next 12 months about how to get our group of players that can get through a season to be able to compete internationally. The win in that game may not have any bearing whatsoever. At the moment, our players are going to compete in the longest, toughest season ever and play a World Cup at the end. So Wigan winning that game probably won't have much bearing on how we go through the year, but certainly on an emotional level, I think the next task is over to you blokes. Get it some headlines, get some inches and columns in the newspapers, which I know is a challenge. But I suppose we've got to do more of our jobs to enable you to do your job, haven't we?
Thank you.
Cheers.
Brian, back to Leigh. What did you make of their opening game against Cass?
Yeah, I thought one or two things went well for Cass. I thought Cass played extremely well, and it was one of those scorelines where you thought, I can see why there's 40 odd been scored, but they didn't look that far off Leigh, and I'm sure they will learn some massive lessons this week, I'm sure.
And have you told your players of any specific threats or dangers that they might?
I think they're very good with the ball, Leigh, and I think that historically over the last 4 or 5 years they've been really good with the ball. They've clearly been a great offensive team, and when the new coach took over from Paul Rowley, he probably added a bit to it as well. I thought that even against Castleford they looked pretty sharp.
And it's important, obviously, their first home game. You mentioned that try and keep them quiet and not give them anything to cheer about early on.
Just every team. We don't want to face the best of every team. And the way to do that is go out there and smack them straight on the chin and put them on the back foot and maintain the centre of the ring. We don't want to be backing off and inviting them to see what they've got, and they'll be saying the same thing about us.
Mentioned a couple of players, Matt Parcell, one we haven't. Super League debut for you guys. What do you make of his performance last week?
Good. I think we all know there's a bit more to come from him. He's only been with us for 3 or 4 weeks, so we're still putting things in place in training, putting some protocols in place, and just some little subtleties about how dummy halves play with your halves and how the big fellas run off him and all that type of stuff. But a good start for him.
And obviously not the start you'd have wanted, but what's the reaction of the players been since last week? Are they almost more determined now to come back and win tomorrow night?
No, I wouldn't say they're more determined. We, as I said earlier, we're only round 2. Our determination to win games is probably as high as it's ever going to be, and we competed in a very intense game last week, and for the large part we were good and got beat by 2 points. So, there's yes, it's disappointed, and we didn't want to lose, but at the same time, we're keeping all of the good stuff, and that was a performance. That's what we always talk about, performance. That was a performance last week, and we can build on that.
Cheers.
Thank you, Brian.
Thanks.
That Newcastle game was amazing, wasn't it?